right. Hi everyone, my name is Lovey and I am the girl without gluten. Today I wanted to go ahead and kind of introduce myself, talk about my channel a little bit and my plans for it. And while I am doing that, I am going to go ahead and peel, I think 5 pounds of potatoes. It might be 10 pounds. So I just ripped up the grocery bag that this came in because I haven't washed these potatoes yet. And well, okay, so I have all these potatoes. They're starting to go bad. I need to do something with them. I also have a hankering for chicken pot pie. So later today, we are going to be making some chicken pot pie. For that, I need some potatoes. I don't need 10 pounds of potatoes for chicken pot pie though. So my plan is to go through these potatoes, kind of cut off the pieces, like the eyes and the parts that are starting to go bad, peel them all. And then I have, this is my KitchenAid bowl and it's just full of cold water. I'll put them in there. Now, because I haven't washed these potatoes, that's gonna be all gross. After I peel them and everything, I'll take them over to the sink, rinse them off, wash them again, and then we'll kind of go from there. So some of these potatoes are going to be turned into chicken pot pie. Some of them I think are going to become gnocchi or potentially lefse, which if we make them into lefse, we'll talk about that when we get there. But first, the point of this video is to peel potatoes and introduce myself. So let's get started. On this is my cutting board. And then the paper bag, just because this is going to be gross and dirty. And then I have potatoes, my potato peeler. This potato peeler does have a little scooper at the top, which you can use to get the eyes out, and that is helpful. I like to use that. I'm procrastinating talking about myself, I think. So yeah, my name is Lovey. That is my nickname, but that's what everybody has called me my entire life. To the point where, like, if I go to the doctor or something and they call out Lauren, I'm like, I don't know who you're talking to. Who's Lauren? I am 25 years old. I grew up in Washington for most of my, well, pretty much my entire life. So I was born in the Seattle area. I have one brother and one sister. They're both older. I'm the baby of the family. I'm pretty close with my parents. My mom is coming to visit me tomorrow, I believe. Yeah, tomorrow. I'm really excited for her to come hang out. But yeah, so I grew up in Washington. I went to school at Washington State University, so in Eastern Washington, go Cougs. I graduated with my degree in computer science, and I did work in software for about 2.5 years. And then very recently, like a month ago recently, I kind of decided to make a change. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute here. So yeah, so I grew up in Washington. I went to school for computer science. That's where I met my husband. We met, he's a mechanical engineer. And so we met in this club that's called FSAE, which stands for Formula Society of Automotive Engineers. But basically it's just a club where you make like a scaled down model of an F1 race car that's kind of like a go-kart. So it's just kind of like a fun club. And I didn't ever do anything like technical in it. I was just the fundraiser chair. But that's where I met my husband. And then we both graduated in 2023. And at the time, he was going to be working at a refinery, like an oil refinery in Ferndale, Washington. And then my company was fully remote at this point. So we graduate, we're doing that for a few months. And then my husband, I was living at home with my parents and I would commute up to Ferndale to see him and then, you know, do my job from his apartment for a while. And then I'd go back and go to my parents' house and live there for a while. take care of their dog for them. Good old Scout. And then my husband found a job in the Bay Area. And he showed me this job description and I read it and I was like, oh, that's the perfect job for you. We're moving to California, aren't we? And so he applied and he got the interview and he got the job offer and we moved down to California. And well, before we moved down, I said I wanted to get engaged. So we got engaged, then we moved down, and at that point we moved in together. And that's where we've been in California for just about 2 years now. And right when Gus, that's my husband's name, right when he was, you know, finalizing his job offer and we were deciding, okay, we need to move, like, what does that look like for my job? That was when my job announced that they were going to be switching from fully remote to hybrid and in person, which actually worked out really well for my job, because they didn't have a very big office in Washington, but they did have one in the Bay Area. So I got to be more in person for my job. So I was starting to go in person more for my job. Gus was starting to settle into his job. He loves his job. He's so good at it. It's so cute to see him, not cute in like a patronizing way, but like cute in like a wholesome way, to see him talk about his job and just like so excited, and he loves it. So definitely worth moving for that. And, you know, I liked my job. It was fine. It was what I went to school for. It was a good job. I have absolutely nothing negative to say about that company at all. Like, it was a fantastic job. They had great work-life balance. They were really flexible. Like, I would totally recommend working for that company again, or like to a friend. I just don't want to write code. And I'm not super great at it. And it was really stressful, like super stressful. And I didn't really like it. So this year, I was kind of like, you know, I've given it a good effort. I think we're going to call it and move on to something else. So that's what I did like a month ago. I'm just rinsing off the top of my potato peeler in this bowl of water because it was getting gross. And like I said, we're washing these potatoes again, so it's okay if this water gets gross. So yeah, so I quit my software development job. I am starting my YouTube channel, although I am not planning on my YouTube channel being my job. This is for fun. This is what I want to, this is a new hobby, a new exciting thing that I'm starting. And I am also looking for some sort of tutoring job. When I was in high school and college, I always did a lot of like peer tutoring. That was either because I was like a TA for my comp sci classes, or I had a part-time job tutoring math in the learning center on campus. So now that I'm leaving software, I was thinking I don't really need to do something that is that like vigorous or intense. I can do something part-time. So I am looking into just part-time tutoring jobs, and I actually had an interview for one earlier today that went very well, and I moved on to the next round. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm really excited to be able to have more time and flexibility to do things that actually bring me joy, like cooking and YouTube. I have always really, really enjoyed cooking. I've always thought that it's pretty lucky that one of my biggest hobbies is something that you really kind of have to do every day. I mean, as an adult, like you can't really get away from cooking. So if you have to do it, it's nice that it's something that I actually enjoy doing. So I really, really like to just be in the kitchen. now that me and my husband are married and we live together and I do the majority of the cooking in our household, which I am a-okay with and honestly really enjoy. It's been fun, maybe a little challenging, but it's been fun to figure out like what types of recipes me and my husband want to eat and kind of like rotate through as a family. Throughout our entire relationship of dating, I would cook for my husband a lot, but I would cook for like exciting things for him. Like I would make steak, or I'd make like potato bacon roses, or I would make like fun cookies. Because before we were dating and we were friends, a lot of what he would do would be just work on my car for me because I had a really crappy car. And I'd be like, hey, you're a mechanical engineer. You work on cars. Want to change my oil? And he'd be like, sure. And I'd, make him some brownies or something. So those were more exciting recipes. They weren't like things you eat on a day-to-day basis of just, hey, what are we having for dinner on Tuesday night? And so it's been fun for me. I don't think everybody would think it's fun, but I do, of kind of coming up with a couple of handfuls of recipes that we have and we rotate through. Chicken pot pie is not one of those recipes that my husband likes. I think he would, well, if I put chicken pot pie in front of him, he would very politely eat it and thank me and say, wow, I'm really glad that you did the cooking. And there would just be a little bit of pain in his eyes the whole time, I think, because he definitely doesn't like it. So I'm making it now, and then we'll save that for the next video. I have a whole plan. But yeah, like some stuff me and my husband really, really like, and it's easy, like tacos. Gluten-free for me. My husband does not have celiac disease. So, he eats gluten. He likes a flour tortilla. He likes normal pasta. He likes normal bread. Honestly, I don't really want to pay for gluten-free food for him if he doesn't have to eat it and doesn't like it. So to me, at least at this stage of our lives, it's worth it to make 2 versions of something. Maybe someday when we have a bunch of kids, I'll say that's the worst idea ever. I'm making 1 dinner and everybody better eat it. But right now, I'm perfectly willing to make like 2 versions. But yeah, celiac disease does run in my family. I got diagnosed when I was in middle school, I'm pretty sure. And that's another thing that I'm really grateful that my hobby is cooking, because a lot of stuff, if you want it to be gluten-free, you just have to make it yourself. And obviously that's becoming like less common where you have to make it yourself. A lot of times, grocery stores have a gluten-free option for a lot of things. Restaurants have gluten-free options for lots of things, but I do still like to be able to make stuff myself, and it's fun. So moving into kind of like my plans for this channel, I want it to be my like day-to-day cooking content, kind of like how I strategize buying and storing gluten-free food. My husband and I do live in an apartment. I think it's about 800 square feet. So, I don't have a huge pantry. I don't have multiple freezers I can store stuff in. I have some shelves off to the side. And then also, I lost my train of thought. I got distracted by the potato. So making gluten-free food that tastes good and making it from scratch at home, but also like living and integrating that with a family member that doesn't have to have gluten-free food. My husband is allergic to tree nuts. No, not allergic to, he's allergic to almonds and pistachios and cashews. So I guess those aren't tree nuts. But I really like macarons. I'm not going to go making macarons when he's trying to make his dinner because I'm going to get almond flour everywhere. So tips and tricks on that. But also, like, I don't want to deny my husband something that he likes. And I also do like macarons. I want to make some macarons every once in a while. So how do we do that of like being respectful of both people's allergies, but also making the kitchen functional and productive and like a good tool? Because, you know, you have to cook every day. You're kind of stuck doing it. And if not every day, you know, then it's like once a week, twice a week type thing. So all that to say, I am excited to primarily focus on cooking content, but I'm also interested in exploring other sort of like housemaking, homemaking type of content. Something that comes to mind is like refinishing my coffee table. I think that would be fun to make a little video of. If you guys, I have 4 subscribers now, guys, have opinions, feel free to drop a comment below. I also have some potentially lofty goals of plans for the channel. I would like to improve my like camera setup and filming equipment. I really want to get better at editing. I've never made any sort of content using a phone before. I think the last time I like made and edited a video, it was 8th grade for junior high science. So, you know, I'm getting better at editing and the software and like the resources you need for that. And I can't really think of anything else to talk about right now. So I think I'm just gonna call that there and peel my potatoes. And if I come up with something, I'll add it in. Oh, I guess there is one thing. I like to cook. Cooking is fun for me. It's relaxing for me. However, being hangry is not good. And it's no fun to be hangry. And you don't necessarily have time to cook a fun, enjoyable experience of cooking something every single day. Like you have to get the vibes right when you're cooking, you know? Like I prefer to be alone in the kitchen and not have anybody really talk to me and maybe put my headphones in and listen to a podcast. And it's a great activity. I don't like feeling like I have to cook. I don't like it when I'm like, oh, I have to do this today because these ingredients are going to go bad. And now I'm stuck doing this and there's no options. So I like to have a certain amount of convenience food on hand. And that's kind of my plan for these potatoes when I make the chicken pot pie. I want to make a big batch of chicken pot pie and then have it in the freezer. But the way that I'm going to freeze it is going to be, I have a technique. And especially keeping in mind that my husband won't eat chicken pot pie. So how am I going to store it in my freezer to make it easiest for me to be able to pull out potentially 1 serving of a chicken pot pie, heat that up in the air fryer or toaster oven, whatever, and then have that for dinner. Something else is like my husband doesn't really like beans. I don't mind beans. I love tortilla soup. I like chili. So, but I'm not going to make a big pot of chili and have that sitting in my fridge for a week because I'm the only person eating it. And what if I don't want chili that week? So how am I going to like package this up and store it in a way where it's convenient and useful and not just taking up a bunch of space in my freezer? I do think that there is a way to make cooking enjoyable if you really don't like cooking. It is like a skill that you need to learn and you can learn and get better at. And I think if you really, really don't like cooking and you don't want to do it, maybe it's worth taking a little bit of time to invest in some skills so that cooking isn't the most painful thing ever because you're a little bit more confident in it. Because, you know, nothing is less fun than when you're trying to make dinner. You're hungry, you're tired. Half of the tools you need are in the dishwasher and they're dirty. And you just got off of work and there's kids screaming at you and all that stuff that everybody has. And then you're like, I didn't want to do this anyways, and now I'm stuck doing it. And there's a bunch of pressure and everybody has a bad attitude. Like, that's why people don't like cooking, right? It's not, well, I mean, maybe it is the act of like chopping the vegetables and everything, but I think cooking gets a bad rap. And I think a lot of times it's just people don't start early enough and then you're really hangry. And it is not fun to cook when you're hangry. And nothing's worse than cooking when somebody's in your way, in your kitchen, and you're all hangry. It's a recipe for disaster. A recipe. Questionable potato peeling maneuver. I think I'm like a third of the way through the bag. My arm is tired. Okay, I think I'm probably more than a third. Maybe like, I'm probably like halfway done. And then I won't have to peel potatoes again for such a long time. My arm is tired. All right, time to lock in and finish the potatoes. Yeah, okay, this was a 10-pound bag. I was kind of worried it was only gonna be a 5-pound bag, and then I was gonna be like, oh my gosh, my arm's falling off, and it's like 5 pounds. Also, I think I have about a third left. Home stretch. Ooh. I should also start chicken broth. Okay, yes, before I forget again, we are going to start the chicken broth because I'm going to need that to make my chicken pot pie. And if I peel all these potatoes with the goal of having my chicken pot pie tonight in my cute little Le Creuset, and I don't have that tonight for dinner, I might actually have a mental breakdown. So I have 2 whole chicken carcasses in my freezer. I'm just gonna take those out, plop them in my big Dutch oven, fill it up with water, and stick it on the stove so that it can start simmering. Yeah, it should go as long as humanly possible. So it's about 4 o'clock right now. So hopefully that's enough time for it to simmer by the time I peel all these potatoes, dice the potatoes, and then do all my, carrots and onions. And then by the time I like cook everything and actually I also have to make crust. Okay. All right. break the big Dutch oven. So in here, these are the bones and then like whatever meat I couldn't get off the bone, and then whatever like vegetables, aromatics were in with the roast chicken. So that's like an onion from when I roasted the chicken. But yeah, I just got like 2 whole chickens from Costco. We had one of them for Thanksgiving, one of them around Christmas, and then I just saved the bones with the intention of making stock. So I'm just gonna dump this in the Dutch oven with the water. And since there's already like seasoning and stuff on these chickens, I'm not gonna add anything to it right now. And I will check for seasoning after it's like concentrated. So I'm just literally gonna put this in, bring it up to a boil, like make sure that this is submerged in the water, then bring it up to a boil, turn it back down to a simmer, and then just let it simmer for as long as possible. Okay, cool. So now we have our broth going for dinner tonight. Back to potatoes. Not too many left. So that was a good example of like, if there's something gross on the potato, I'll just like swipe off a couple more layers until I get back to good potato. Usually do a couple extra ones to give it some buffer, and then I just move on. So like there's another gross spot. I'm just gonna, oh my gosh. Just keep swiping and then it'll go away. So part of the reason I have so many potatoes is because over Christmas, I really wanted to make lefse, which is a Norwegian dessert. Well, it's a Norwegian potato-based tortilla that they could be sweet or savory. I think a lot of people, what they do is put butter and jam on them, or butter and cinnamon sugar. So it's kind of like a crepe, but potato-based. And yeah, it's a Norwegian thing. My family is Norwegian. When I was really young, we would go to a lutefisk every year with my great-grandparents. We haven't done it in a really long time since they passed away. But lutefisk is like a preserved fish that it's like pickled, I think, or like jellied in some way. I don't think I ever actually tried the lutefisk itself because I was pretty young and I don't think anybody was convincing me to try this weird fish food. But it's like the traditional thing, and I remember they would always have lefse there. And then over the years we've made lefse a couple times. It's not anything super crazy. But yeah, you use russet potatoes for it. And so I had asked my mom if over Christmas we could make lefse, and we didn't have time, we didn't get to it. And so now that my mom is visiting me in a couple days, I was thinking we could potentially make lefse together when she's here. So we'll see. I don't know if that'll happen or not. But I do think I'm going to have enough potatoes to make chicken pot pie, gnocchi, and lefse. So that is fantastic. The last melon. All right. So that was peeled 10 pounds of potatoes. That took me 53 minutes, but to be fair, I was talking a lot during it. And since I did it on the bag, I can just bundle this up and throw it away, hypothetically. One rogue. Ah. So, like I said earlier, I will now like wash these off and rinse them again before I go to use them, because there is like, I mean, they were dirty potatoes. And then some of them will be chopped into cubes for chicken pot pie. And then the rest of them, I believe, are just going to be like a rough chop. And then I'll boil them until they're tender. And then I'll put them through the potato ricer. And then it will be made either into gnocchi or lefse. At least that's my current plan, if I don't change my mind. So yeah, it was really nice to introduce myself and just put a little bit out there about my intentions and stuff. Like I said earlier, my name is Lovey and I am the girl without gluten. And thank you so much. If you want to see more gluten-free cooking content, go ahead and subscribe. And otherwise, have a good day.